We are so happy you're here. My name's Leslie O'Sasser. I'm the Curator of Education at the Contemporary Art Museum, USF Contemporary Art Museum, and I'm also the Program Director for this program, Breaking Barriers. There are a lot of people to thank. Even though things might look casual, to do something like this takes an enormous amount of work. So I'd like to thank a lot of people, and to my colleagues, I'd like to thank Margaret Miller. She is our director, and our deputy director, Randy West, who supports everything we do. To Don Fuller, who's the man over there, and Kenzie Farrell, who is our new media designer, curator, and also our graphic designer. I'd like to thank Gary Schmidt, Eric Jonas, Madison Andrews, and especially Alejandro Gomez for all of their preparatory work and for designing the show, for putting it up in such a beautiful way and setting up for tonight. I want to thank Tammy Thomas, who is our events coordinator, and she brought you this food, set up, coordinated the bar, and coordinated the event. And lastly, I have an especially huge thank you to Amy Allison, who is my partner in crime. We do everything together for Breaking Barriers. A huge thank you. So there are a few people here I'd like to recognize. And I don't know, Marilee Jorn, are you here yet? Okay, she's not. Before we begin, I'd also like to say thank you to Kathy Collins. Kathy Collins works for the Florida Hillsborough Arts Council, and they are major funders of our program. So thank you, Kathy. I don't see you, but thank you. Huge applause for that. I want to thank the Veteran Success for being here tonight from the USF campus. In particular, Dr. Renee Ambroy. She is Associate Director for the Veteran Success for all three campuses. Give her a round of applause. They do so much. And although they're not here tonight, I want to say thank you before I talk to the panelists to Love for Lawrence. They're also one of our supporters. So they have the Wildlife Corridor Foundation, and there's more coming about that where the show might travel and be curated, but I want to thank them as well. So let me, before we get down to it, I want to talk about this exhibition. It's called Portrait. It's a result of the workshops we do for 2023 during the summer. And this year it focused on portraiture in the broadest sense of the word. These artists push the definitions of what portraiture is, what portraiture is expected to be, and I want to express gratitude to the 22 artists in the show, and I'd like to call them out and then say thank you. We have Creamy Arietta, Patricia Colbert, who couldn't be here tonight because guess what? She won one of the positions to be in the national competition, and she's right now in Colorado. Yeah. Yeah? I'd like to say thank you to Gail Cross, Dr. Charlie Ferrer, who you'll hear from, Janine Hargret, Valerie Larson, Kevin Lipton, Dolores Mateo, Caridad Ramus Hartman, who is right now with Patricia in Colorado, Roger St. Julian, Monica Sutton, Viviana Tavares Fisher, Manfredo Bobadilla, who we call Manny, Augustin, who we call Augie, Colaza Jr., Amanda Dodd, Evan Fountain, Derek Hopkins, Miko Mackay, ooh, we got a little applause, Alicia Morales, Chris Smith, Kimberly Nicole Smith, and Rayanne Swanson. And not only do we commend you so much for your valor in service, but also for trying something new. These are not artists who are diving into the art world, which is not an easy place to enter. Let's give them a round of applause. So what's going to happen tonight is I have the privilege to be in conversation with 5 of the artists. And how it's going to work tonight, I'm going to ask them some questions. We're going to have a conversation about their work, We're going to look more at their process, see what they're thinking about, hear their ideas, maybe things that we don't know. Maybe we'll discover something new. And then after, we're going to open it up for Q&A for you guys. So if you want to ask after one of the artists a particular question, we'll have a mic. Amy's going to go around. Please ask your question. So if something comes up, note that, and we'll bring the mic around after. So without further ado, I want to quote somebody who is a writer, a critic of pretty important artists, and she talks about portraiture. And she describes photographic portraits as such. She says, a portrait is considered to be the depiction, the representation, and the likeness of an individual. The relationship between the portrait and its object cannot exist unless someone identifies the depicted person as the individual for whom the portrait stands. However, a portrait is not only of someone by someone. It's a complex arena in which different, sometimes contradictory forces come into play. And with that in mind, I'm going to frame the questions around these ideas of complicated arenas and these different arenas, these complex arenas, and maybe some contradictory forces that come into play. And I will introduce the artists as we go along, but I'm going to introduce who you're seeing now. Alicia Morales. Chris Smith. Miko Mackay. Dr. Charlie Ferrer. And last but certainly not least, Derek Hopkins. I'm going to start with Alicia. This is Alicia's third year with Breaking Barriers. She is a veteran from US Army, and I didn't tell you all this. All of the photography is done with cell phone cameras, but they're not selfies. They're real photographs. And Alicia uses a Samsung 23 camera phone. So Alicia, I want to discuss your double portrait, this portrait. It's called Reflections. And I'm going to tell you why I want to talk about it and how we read it, and then we'll talk. It seems deeply personal. It seems really intimate. For me, and I think many people, it evokes a psychological moment. Your gaze is directed at what seems like a smaller image, and it makes you the subject, but that invisible gaze seems to be what the portrait is about. One notices a resemblance between the smaller image that you hold and you. We can assume perhaps it's a family member, but it's in sepia tones. The dress is not contemporary. So it looks like you are connecting somehow the present with the past with this small image. So I'm going to ask you a question, but I want to read a quote. You wrote, and this is in the catalog, and by the way, if you'd like the catalog, you can download it for free in PDF form from our website, or we do sell it on demand for cost. It's $20. We don't make any money, but the artist did get a copy of the catalog. And in the catalog is a feature image and then a narrative written by the artist. You wrote, and I quote, "I'm more than 4 decades older than my mother was in this picture of her. My younger mother takes me back to when I was her age." So we've discovered it's your mother. So my question is, could you talk about the significance of remembering your younger self to a time when you were your mother's age, and why is it important to remember yourself through this particular portrait of that particular time?
I've been talking about this with Leslie, and the purpose that I wanted to get out of here was the fact that I look at my mother's picture, and I was trying to remember who I was around that age. And I realized that even though I was raised by her, even though I went away from her for a while, I didn't think at any time that we were alike. And I know there's another question that you might have is, we were completely different. We were two people that loved each other, but we did not agree on anything. And I don't know if it was the age range, you know. I think everybody here knows that we are not friends with our parents at a certain age. But I was looking at that picture and I was trying to remember who I was at that age. I wanted to identify myself with who I was looking at and trying to find myself within that gaze. And the reason I wanted to do this was because everybody throughout my life that knows me and my mom always said, "You look just like your mom." And inside of me, I said, "No, I don't." And that's, you know, that's what the reflection is, oh my God, there's this lady, there's this picture, she's my mom, and I don't remember agreeing with her anything, and we were completely, to my understanding, we were completely opposite. If I look at myself now, I realize that yes, I was just like her.
That's so interesting. So for you, what is it like now discovering through a photograph and then making a photograph about it? What is it like to self-reflect? Because your mom's not here anymore, right?
No, my mom passed away quite a few years, and it's very interesting because I had never seen that picture. The picture was given to me when my mom passed away, and my sister that lives in Puerto Rico went to her apartment to clean out the apartment, and she found that picture. And she brought it to me on one of the trips that she did here to Tampa, and I said, I have to have that picture because I don't have any pictures of my mom. Like, I don't have any pictures of myself when I was that age or when I was younger. My mom, we used to keep all the pictures, and now she passed away, and we have nothing that we could say, this is a picture of me when I was 10 years old. I don't have that. So that's how the picture gets to me, and again, it just created. I had it with me. I had the picture for quite a few years. I had it in a drawer, and when I was looking to see, okay, what can I do that is different? I found the picture. Very strange how I found it, and I said, this is what I'm going to use to reflect myself upon my mom and make sure that now I understand that I do look like her.
So interesting. I'm going to ask you a question, but to let you know, we did something with the television this morning, and Alicia was one of the participants on that. And I learned so much this morning through you talking about this. But there's two things one thing I want to ask you, but related to this morning, is how you position yourself. First of all, you're on the diagonal formally, so you're activated. You're much larger than your mother, so you're the subject. And you've done this kind of thing before. This is Alicia's third year. You've made work about your mom almost every year. One year it was surrogates in this sort of Dutch style with a soup tureen called Mom's Soup and the different ingredients. It was beautiful. But what I want to ask you is, why is it, or why was it? Why is it that you want to work? What is it you're discovering year after year working with these ideas of your mother? Because it seems so important to you. Mm-hmm. And you are always the subject. Even though we see the face of your mother, we don't see your face, but just your scale, and we read left to right, you're first. So just compositionally, what do you think, what are you doing? Do you know?
Honestly, not exactly. I do not know exactly what it is, but I think since I've been taking this course and taking the pictures and analyzing myself, and as I get older, right, I realized that first of all, I don't have her any longer. Second, I do look like her. Overall, she was more emotional than I am. Uh,
So she
she's
says.
motherly, I'm not. And it's last year when I did my mom's soup, again, it was just, I wanted to do something for her, to demonstrate to her that I am thinking about her and that she means to me. And there was nothing better and more say, the greatest taste in the world of one of my mom's soup. The way she made them was incredible. So
I'm going to come back to that because I want to know what it's like now that they're out in the world. It's in the catalog. But I want to move on to Chris because I think you're doing something similar, but I want to ask him. So this is Chris Smith, not this. This is Chris Smith. It's his first year with Breaking Barriers, but you might recognize him because he is the spouse of a U.S. Army veteran, and he was the subject last year of his spouse's work. Chris uses a Samsung Note 10 camera, is that correct? So I want to talk about these two photographs. On the left is family focus, on the right is Mother Nature, and there are differences. One's inside, one's outside, but they're both portraits, and in many ways are very similar. They both have children, they both have directed gazes. There's one with a mother and child, there's one with children and a dog, but they seem to tell implied stories. And there is an artist you might know named Robert Frank. He was in 30s and 40s, very famous photographer, and he did a book called The Americans. And I want to talk about a quote he said and see how you feel like this resonates. He said, Robert Frank said, "I know that life for a photographer cannot be a matter of indifference. It is important to see what is invisible to others, perhaps a look of hope, perhaps a look of sadness." And I think this idea of life for a photographer not being indifferent certainly applies to you, because if I look at any of your work, it is anything but indifferent. But I think I want to talk about this idea of invisibility and what the artist sees. Because my question for you is, what was invisible that you saw in these moments? Because these seem aligned in some way, although they're different, and felt was important for others to see. Does that resonate at all with you?
Yeah, it actually does. And if you just look at the mother and child, when I look at all of my pictures, nothing else exists. If they're staring at something, that means there's nothing else that matters other than who they are, who they're talking to, or what they're focused on at that moment. I'm a big, big eye person. So when you talk about what's in the image, especially when it comes to the first one with the mother and the daughter, it's interesting that that picture was taken at that particular point in time because she was a brand new mom. She didn't even think she was going to be able to have a baby at all. So for her to be there in that moment, and her nickname, ironically enough, is what's in the background, which is Sunny. Her child's actual birth name is Sky. So when you look at that, nothing mattered other than just what you see in the background is exactly what you see on them. That's who they are. There's nothing else that exists. When it came to the kids, they were asking me to watch something. And when they asked together in unison, nothing else matters. I was talking to them, asking them to do different things, and nothing mattered but the moment. And I cheat a lot when I talk to my wife about the pictures and things that we do. I steal time. And in every single picture that we take, that I take, it's a matter of this moment is not coming back. So when we talk about invisibility, this is that moment. It won't exist again. We have it together, and that's what's important. So it's like, and if you look at it, they're not paying attention to me. I'm like a fly on the wall. I am the invisible man when it comes down to everything that I do. So much so that I was asked by the person who I was the subject of last year, could you please be in pictures for the first time? Because I have...
Go, Kimberly.
Don't laugh. I have like 50,000 pictures. And of the 50,000 pictures on that same Samsung Note 10, perfect, I think I'm about 100 of them because I just want to see what they don't see. And I think that's how it resonates.
So interesting you said that because you do something I'm going to ask you if you're aware of, because I've seen a lot of your photographs, but in this exhibition, they're lit in very ethereal ways. Like you can't see it because of the lighting, but if you see in the other gallery, the light's coming off the TV screen. They're backlit in a certain kind of way. It's almost as if light for you, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but when I look, I wonder if that's a character for you. Like, is it that invisible force?
The running joke, and I used to tell Kimberly this all the time, was, I got to steal the light. I steal the light.
What does that mean?
So everybody's in this room's probably heard of the golden hour. And it's like, so how can I create that when there's no sun? How can I actually see that, you know what, they are the only thing that's important? Going back to the picture of the beach, it was happenstance, and I was trying to get this silhouette thing happening, and it wasn't working. And I was like, okay, the clouds are in the way, I can't do this. And then I said, wait a minute, let me just stop and be still. In both pictures, I just had to sit there and just wait, and just wait, and wait. And then it's like, I can steal the light right now. So it's, you caught me. It's very intentional, it's very purposeful, because it's, to me, it's timing. It's timing. Like, you'll know when you know.
Yeah.
And it just feels good.
So interesting, because I'm not a photographer, I'm a painter, but what is so evident for me in all of your work, you say you're invisible, but it's so obvious you're here. Because it's like a triangle that goes out. You've got the gaze of the mother looking at the child, looking at the sunset, so it's stacked in a certain kind of formal way. And it's the same with the dog. Like you've got everybody positioned that way, right? It's a dog and kids instead of a mom and kids. But everybody's looking at something, engaged in something, but it comes out to the viewer. That seems really important. Not only is it the presence of the photographer, but for me, it's also you giving the viewer that sort of omnipotent kind of view. You're including the viewer in these scenes that are really private. I want to ask you another question. I'm going to go back to what Frank said. He also said, it's always the instantaneous reaction of oneself that produces a photograph. So if this resonates at all with you, have you thought about it? And in what ways, you answered a little bit, but in what ways do these portraits, as portraits, present reactions to yourself?
You touching on heartstrings today, which is good.
Oh.
So that first image on the beach was important to me because my mom had recently passed. And it was, I remember that look that she would give me. And I do not have pictures of me and my mom. I do not have that moment of, that's my baby anymore, right? And to have a friend who was going through what she was going through, but then to be able to see it, I was just like, I wish I was Sky right now being held. So it's funny to even, like as I was processing every single thing that I did, and I was like, yo, this, I can imagine that being me. And then the other piece to it, you'll see that it's my son and my niece. I lost my sister and my brother as well. And one of the things we would always do is we would purposefully sit down and watch movies and everything together. So to recreate that and have my son and my niece, because they act like brother and sister all the time. So to recreate that in the home was like, I'm living vicariously through everyone who's out. So when I do take the pictures and I actually go through that process, it truly isn't about me. It's just I want to put myself in that position and let them have that moment that unfortunately I can't have, but I want them to see that that exists for them.
It's amazing because Alicia, you're doing something different also, this mining self-discovery this sort of, I don't want to call it healing because that's a really overused word, but this sort of connection with oneself and family. Thank you for answering that. I want to talk about Miko Mackay because, well, first let me tell you, this is Miko, it's your 4th year, right? In Breaking Barriers. He's retired US Marine Corps, and Miko uses an iPhone 13 Max Pro. But I want to talk about these 2 photographs, Commune and Love, in sort of relation to what Chris was talking about. And I've worked with you now for 4 years, and I'm going to talk about Frank's comment again, life for a photographer cannot be a matter of indifference. It's important to see what's invisible to others, perhaps a look of hope or sadness. Because Miko, you are anything but indifferent. You're passionate, you're caring, and I want to talk about specifically Commune, this one here on the left. Could you talk about your ideas, your strategies, your decisions to portray this invisible idea of commune? And if you didn't know about it while you were doing it, because you might have been in the moment, could you talk about how you looked at it after?
Okay, sure. Thank you for doing this again, for you and everyone that attended and all the folks in the audience. Commune was really about, for the ladies you see on the screen there, that is my mother-in-law, who is now my mom, and my bride, my wife, Bethany, and my mother-in-law just moved down 5 years ago, 6 years ago, just before the pandemic, and we built ourselves a commune. We built a beautiful cottage in the backyard for her, and we all lived in the same area. We call it our commune. And when the pandemic happened, we had this safe space to go. And here, we would eat meals together at night, and we would go out and spend time talking about the day. And I would catch the light hitting right behind during golden hour, right over my wife's shoulder, and catch the reflections in the table. And I knew I had to take that picture. And so I took about, I don't know, what'd you say, ladies, about 400 or 500 at that time? So, yeah. So
Only.
So that's our commune, and we weathered the pandemic together in that commune, and we still do it every night. We're sitting together and enjoying a meal out in the Florida room.
It's interesting because commune could be a commune, or commune could be a verb, to be in commune. But I'm really curious. You had them looking at each other. Mm-hmm. You're not really present in the photograph.
No, there's a big thing that you'll always notice that you has for years is, if this doesn't have to be on screen in the camera, I do much better, because I'm self-conscious. I get in trouble all the time for not smiling with teeth and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I wanted to catch the reflection, but also catch the actual sun and the reflection of Mom in the camera in the table as well. So, but no, I can't be on the camera.
Oh, you have been.
Sure.
It's interesting because it's a very compassionate photograph, yet we never see them looking at the camera. Still, there's that relationship, by that separation in between, that unites them, just formally.
Very much so.
I want to talk about something else Frank said, and I want to ask you a question. Frank also said, and I'm going to unpack this a little bit, opinion often consists of a kind of criticism, but criticism can come out of love. And I'm going to say, as artists, we're always critical. We have critical opinions, we have informed opinions, and we do critically look at the work. That's how we discern whether the work is good, whether it's working or operating or not operating. So over time, seeing your work, I know you're full of opinions, artistic opinions. I don't mean like opinions about this, that, and the other thing, but your work is full of opinions. Can you talk about the other photograph, Love, not only the title, but also what was the important criticism, the ideas you're using, and the eye you use, and did it come out of some sort of love?
I think of, I take, this is my main subject in photos.
Which is who?
Bethany, my wife. She's got
Your
a
wife.
camera going back there. This is the woman that on our first date stopped the chubby guy in the middle of a plate of corned beef hash, and I said, "Your eyes are beautiful." And yeah, it is, and it was, from then on, the beauty that I see in her, especially when she doesn't see it, and it's important for me to capture that. This was a casual dinner. We didn't have any lights or anything else around us. It was just perfect golden hour shot at the Must Wine Loft in downtown St. Pete. And I had to take the picture. And she hears that quite regularly. I had to take the picture. Because she emanates love. She is love to me. So.
It's interesting because you reinforce it, and I'm not saying you love wine, but there's, right? But there's 3 glasses of something you like because it's multiples, right? In a beautiful place, she's central, like really in the center. It seems like not only was the subject love, but there was a lot of care in choosing that composition. She's the only thing in color. Everything else is more or less monochromatic. Even the red of the wine is sort of muted.
Right.
It just seems like the whole thing emanates love. Like when I first saw this before you titled it, I was like, oh. It seems so endearing, the whole thing.
Right. Well, I'm an art neophyte. That's called a flight of wine. It wasn't Bethany pounding 3 glasses, so.
Oh, Bethany, you were about to be my hero.
But no, it is, the importance was to show her and in color and try to lay back on the color and some of the other things, but still show them as vividly as I could.
Okay. Because it seems to me like you're doing some things that, Derek, you do. Like with this backlighting, this lighting as a presence, or this sort of central focus of a subject, in this case, portraiture. But it's so much more than a portrait of a person.
Right.
It's the whole thing that emanates. And when you titled it Love, Amy and I talked, we were like, perfect. It's brilliant. Of course it is.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
But yeah, thank you. I'm going to come back to you. I want to introduce Dr. Charlie Ferrer. Yay! So Charlie is a veteran of the U.S. Army. This was her first time in breaking barriers. She uses an iPhone camera. Let me go on. I'm going to talk about this for a minute, Charlie, and do the lay of the land, because this is a really complicated portrait. But I want to quote, actually, a painter. His name is Robert Henry, 20th century American painter, but also sort of a philosopher who brought ideas to art in the States. And he ardently believed that art and life were synonymous, that they could not be separated. And he alleged that the artist needed to look at contemporary life and scenes with fresh, unprejudiced, and unacademic eyes. I want to tell you all something. That did not mean uneducated. It meant that take all of the education, all of the practice, then approach something with some sort of authenticity. He was not about being unschooled, but unacademic. And he wrote, and I'm going to quote, "All worthwhile art is a record of intense life, and each individual artist's work is a record of his or her effort, search, and findings in language especially chosen by himself or herself, 20th century, and devised best to express him or her." And I want to talk about this because I believe this attitude and spirit is 100% in this portrait. But I want to unpack it for a second, okay? Because it's almost like a triple entendre. We learn a lot about you through this portrait. You do some complicated things. We see the viewpoint of the camera, but we see what you're looking at. So time gets condensed. We see you wearing a certain kind of pink. The towels are pink. So we understand that you might have an affinity for pink. We see art on the wall. It might suggest that you appreciate artwork. And we also see a little bit about the home. So we understand these little iconographies as the data of your home. So we've learned a lot about your life, but in this idea of a reflection, of a reflection, of a reflection. So my question is, can you talk about this portrait, this triple kind of double entendre portrait, as a record of your life, and what special efforts did you use to set this up, and what did you discover for your visual language that portrays the complexity of your life? Does that make sense? I know that was a weighty question. I'll unpack it more, but let's start.
Yeah, so I have to say this was my first time taking pictures of anything. Well, I take pictures of still stuff, but not really of myself. I hate being photographed, or I hate taking pictures of myself because, you know, you get very conscientious of how you look, and then you start judging. And so when you guys picked this picture, I was like, oh no, you weren't supposed to pick that. You know, and I'm like, please don't. Look, I have no makeup on, you know, and you can see the smudges of my mascara. And so when you started asking me the questions, I'm like, but I wasn't thinking of any of that. What I was looking at was our professor, our instructor, Christian, who was so awesome. So if you haven't worked with him, he's amazing. But he just told us to do a picture, and I don't even remember, a picture of something, a picture of how we saw. And I just wanted to take a picture of me, but trying to let you see what I was seeing in the mirror. And so often we look at ourselves, but either we hide from ourselves or we don't see ourselves as we are, or we try to make ourselves different or make ourselves acceptable. And so one of the reasons why I was like, please don't do that picture, is because, again, makeup, no makeup, you know? So it's like a front that you give to people. You know, you get all dressed up and you make your face and you make your hair. But on that picture, it was just trying to see inside of myself. So you see my eye, it's like I was trying to picture what I was able to see and look at myself in the mirror to capture what it was I was seeing through my eyes. And this is what ended up coming out. And it was just, I call it unadorned because there's no makeup, there's no fancy clothes, there's nothing but just staring.
That is so interesting, because what you ended up doing, because of that complex psychology going on, like, I want to see this and that at the same time, but I'm going to bear this, is you ended up with a very complex portrait. Because there is no human in the world that could see all those vantage points at the same time.
Yeah.
And then you did title it Unadorned, and I was going to ask you about that. But by titling it Unadorned, that could mean an unadorned you, but it also is an idea of being unadorned,
Right.
which speaks to your intention, what you just explained, of making this. And it's really interesting because you, Chris, Alicia, have gone through this self-reflective process through photographing yourself or others, but you're still always having that resonance with yourself. So when you ended up seeing this, what did you think?
First I thought I look horrible because there's no makeup.
Oh, it is one of my favorite
I just started
artworks.
judging, immediately judging. Whereas when I took the picture, it was just, I was trying to see what I could see. So I was trying to photograph my eye looking into the photo. And so I didn't even realize that I would get all of this other stuff. And I didn't realize that I had an extra image in the image until you pointed it out, because it just didn't reflect into me. And so it was that part of realizing, when you stop and you try and look at yourself, what do you see? What's reflected back at you? And are you going to judge that, or are you just going to just see yourself, and just be happy with what you see, So big deal, I don't have any makeup and I have a house frock, it's still a picture and it's still me in that moment.
And it's very smart.
Yeah.
I hope you recognize that. That is a very smart portrait. It blew me away when I saw that.
Thank you. I'm really cool.
You are very cool. Yeah.
I'll take a bow later.
And I just want to say, because I forgot to say, but Noelle Smith, who was our previous deputy director and curator of Caribbean art, Amy Allison and I curated this. This wasn't work chosen necessarily by the artists. They gave us their selection, but surprise.
Yeah, and I think that's the part of it too, because you're seeing so much other stuff that is coming in through the picture that I didn't really try to represent, because this is actually my bathroom. So it's the guest bathroom, I should say. And so I was just, again, trying to see if I could see what I was seeing. And so it became really interesting, and I kept trying to see if I could just see my reflection in the camera of looking at myself. And I think that's also a part of, I did a picture, I drew a picture once of me giving birth while I'm looking at myself give birth to me. So that triple part of yourself, like me, myself, and I. So what would it be like if you're standing there watching yourself give birth to yourself? What would you look like? What would you experience? What would you see? And so the same thing here. What am I looking at? What am I experiencing? What do I see? And am I just going to just let it be, whatever it is, as opposed to doing the judgment? Oh, my dress is off. Oh my gosh, you could see my, my mascara is dragging and things like that. But just being in that moment, like they had said, just be in the moment and just take the picture, and then later look at what you've done.
That complexity comes through, and I think, Chris, you did the same sort of thing. You told us, your mom's no longer here, and your family members, and trying to see yourself through that. Those are really profound, hard moments. I commend both of you. I mean, really, and Alicia, they're not easy moments. I wanted to go on to Derek, and then if we have time, we'll come back. Hi, Derek. So, Derek is a veteran of the U.S. Air Force, and yes, and it is his first year in Breaking Barriers, but I had the great privilege of meeting Derek last summer as an art student. Why? Because we had Rico Gatson here, the artist Rico Gatson, doing a mural, the whole wall here, and we had students apply to be in residence here to assist Rico Gatson. And out of 40 applications, Derek was one who received that. And that's when I learned he was a veteran. I'm like, really? We do this program. Would you like to join? So I'm going to talk about all three of Derek's photographs. And I want to talk about it in the lens of a 19th century photographer. Although they're brilliant colors, they're in focus. When I first saw them, they evoked an artist named Julia Margaret Cameron. She's 19th century. Hers are in black and white. They're out of focus, but they're also busts. And what she does is her gazes are always back at the camera or downcast to the side in a profile like that. And I want to quote her because she articulated something. She says, quote, "My intentions behind my portraits and my approach to my subjects is that my whole soul has endeavored to fulfill its duty towards them," meaning her sitters, "by faithfully recording the greatness of their inner selves as well as the features of outward appearance." And it occurred to me when I was looking through your work, you do record the likeness of the person, absolutely, but you make it about the person because your backgrounds are somewhat out of focus, but you seem to capture a great inner life. Can you speak to that? Or is that even relevant to you?
Yeah. First, I want to shout out USF Cam. Thanks everybody coming out here. I appreciate the support. Give yourselves a round of applause. It means a lot for everybody just to get any support here. And then I want to bring up too briefly how I even got here. You had mentioned I am a veteran and I worked for several years in construction with my family and my brother, but I'm also a fine artist. I go to school here doing fine art, and I kind of grew my hair out, tried to blend in, and there is a type of like person that goes to art school. So a lot of times if you just go out, I'm a veteran, or you have that persona, people will think of you, they'll already make their minds up about the kind of person you are. So I was really honored to be chosen for the Rico Gatson thing and to have such a great reception at USF and at CAM, just for my artistic talents, probably things I'd learned in the military, showing up on time and having a work ethic. But it meant a lot that my art was recognized before they knew that I was a veteran, and it meant more to me that way than instead of just, oh, let's treat this person differently because they're a veteran. And another interesting thing is, and I'm sure a lot of the photographers and people that have participated in this, it kind of goes with my theory of how I approach art, is I want to share my experiences with another crowd that might not hear it. So there's, when I went into art school, a lot of my construction military friends are like, man, what are you doing that for? And then when I talk to my art school friends and I talk about the military construction, like, man, what are you doing that for? And I feel like there's something that can be learned from both of those things. When you talk about these pictures and the portraits, I'm trying to have like a visceral impact. I want you to be able to look at them and it kind of has like a feel to it. You can also see the character in their faces. And I want to try and show something to the audience that you may not see necessarily. Just the same way I would try and bridge my art world and my veteran lifestyle. What's interesting about all these pictures of the many ones that they prompted us on, these are people that I all made a relationship with. I clearly remember taking all of their photographs, and I think that you can kind of pick up on that. I know these people somewhat a little bit, and I was able to pull something out there, in their gaze that's a little bit deeper. The veteran, the Army guy, that's just such a classic American veteran. But really the man in the middle there, he was a homeless person. As I was out snapping pictures, and I had a big group of people, and I kind of made friends with them and got to know them, but him in particular had a gaze about him, that was farther off, that was deeper, that I had recognized as a veteran, and you can kind of see it in the other man as well. While some of the homeless people there, they have substance abuse or whatever their things was, as I talked to this man a little bit more and told him what I was doing as a veteran, he said he was a veteran as well. And I was like, oh, in my mind, how did an American veteran end up on the streets here? But he was not. He's an immigrant from Africa, forget exactly what country, but he was a soldier in his youth. And I can see that. I think that's something that veterans can see with one another. You all have our different stations in life. This veteran here, I met at the VA. He was just a nice old man. He was there by himself, just keeping on. The other man was homeless, but was still a nice old man keeping on. But then also the beach photography, that's at Dunedin Beach. I went out there and there was this old lady dressed up like a clown with a fake chicken, and her husband was there photographing her. And it was just such a beautiful thing to see. And then, the type of colors and things, I was able to tell them about my art stuff and they let me photograph them.
I have one more question.
Sure.
And then we're going to open it up. But we've often heard that every portrait is also a self-portrait. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that a lot. Like I said, I tried to get to know these people and let them get to know me a little bit to where that they can open up. And then also in my training with arts, with painting, or even doing music, there's a narrative. There's something you're trying to get across to the audience, whatever it may be, even if it's just look at this person. And something that I've tried to do with the arts is make art more digestible. A lot of times in the fine art world, people are confused or they don't know what they're looking at. They don't want to spend the time. So, you know, I just as I would move things around and use my imagination in a painting, I also use my imagination when trying to capture these people. I don't know them now and couldn't reach out to them, but I have a story that I've made up in my mind. In the booklet, there's an excerpt about the guy with the army hat, and it's kind of a story about the guy, kind of a story about me, but it's just a narrative to try and explain something, and it helps to create the emotion or the feeling.
Thank you. So if anybody, we're almost done. Hold on one sec. If anybody wants to join, this program is free for veterans and families and active duty members. If you're interested, you could use your phones now to download the QR square, go to the registration. It does start at 6 weeks. It's on Fridays. We have a beginning and advanced. And I would love to open it up to questions for anybody. We have one over there. Derek, can we borrow your mic? Thank you, there's one over there. Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting us all to look at your amazing work. Every one of you touched me deeply with the work that you did. And my question is this. There's an overall narrative, I think. We take so many pictures, all of us, every day of our food or of our pets or what have you. There is an overall narrative now of just be in the moment. But through each of you and all of your art, I saw you being in the moment. And I wondered if any of you had anything you wanted to share about that, how that's different. What you did was different than us just taking our random photos for our feed for the day.
It's a great question. Who would like to answer that?
Yes, something that helped definitely was the direction here, and they kind of gave us some prompts. But having a clear idea, I guess, really helps you be in the moment. I think a lot of people snap pictures or do a quick selfie, but to really sit and think about it, give you time to digest what your goal is and what you're trying to get across is, I think, something that helps. And just being in that moment and being able to look for these things. After a while, you kind of start picking up, like, oh, I really like the shadows here. I like the lighting effect. And, it's like any skill. The more you do it, it becomes more routine.
Chris, did you want? Oh, sorry, Charlie. I didn't. Please.
I was going to say the part for me about being in the moment is that you need to realize, that's a big cliche right now, being in the moment and so on. But when you're taking all these pictures, are you really in the moment? Or are you taking the picture for somebody else? So when I took the picture, I took it for me. I didn't think of, well, if it gets into the finale and then I'll have to explain. It's like, no, in this moment, this is what I'm doing. So anytime I take a photo, I'm not taking a photo to share with someone else. I'm taking a photo because in this moment, that captured my attention, and that was something that I wanted to remember, that I wanted to look at later, because that moment was something that I wanted to remember, as opposed to, take a picture of, hey, this is what I'm eating right now, and I'll send it to you. I won't remember that, 20 minutes from now, but I will remember the shadow on the tree that made the picture of the lady, because that was like so amazing. How could that, let me capture this moment, or taking a picture of a piece of wood that I saw that looked like a vulture. And the closer I got to it, or the further away, it looked like a vulture, but when I got right to it, it was just a piece of stick, And so that was a moment for me to remember how beautiful things could look. And when you got closer to things, it changed,
I would say I'm intentional. Like, it's not when we say we're in the moment, it's something that's happening in that moment that's just making me say, oh, I have to remember this. There's something about that particular point in time. I wouldn't even call it a moment. It's just, this is what's happening right now. And I'm so encapsulated by what that is. I gotta have this. I may not remember something. That's my biggest fear, is losing my memory, to be honest with you. But if I can capture it and hold on to it, then if I'm going through something, I can go back to that moment. If I'm feeling a certain way, I can share that. And it's so personal. It may sound like, oh, we're just out there just clicking. No, it really means something.
Plus, can I share something? It's also not just about taking photographs. They're having critiques, they're sharing these ideas, they're learning formal techniques. And I want to say these photographs, of course, there's post-editing, but the good photo, there's not much because they were good photographs. But learning those things, so it's not a selfie, as they all just said. There's an intentionality, I think, right? What other questions? Over there. No, but you know what? After, I think this, then they could get with you, so everybody could have snacks.
This is really just for any of the artists. This is breaking barriers, and you're all veterans, and I want to thank you all for your service. I mean, amen for all of our freedoms. How do you feel that photography helps veterans reacclimate or express themselves?
How does photography help veterans reacclimate or express themselves?
Yeah, I believe that's a lot of how I found myself in art school, was trying to express some of the things that I had seen in the military and just, through life in general and through travel. And I think that that's really great what the Breaking Barriers does. I think that there's parts of the military or of that life that don't see things in art or value art and how it can help one another and our society, but just the same as the art world is blind to the other half, and how what the positive things can be of service to your country or military things. When I talk with students sometimes that seem like they're would be perfect candidates for the military, and I'm like, well, have you ever thought about this after school? And they're like, oh no, never me. And I'm like, well, did you know that there's gay people in the military? And they're like shocked, where that's there's been gay people and there's all different kinds in the branches. So I think that the arts, and especially this program, trying to bring together our society, which is kind of broken apart in a lot of ways right now, maybe some people see, but I just think that there's positive things that both sides aren't seeing. So I think, yes, bringing arts to the veterans and vice versa is a great healing thing, I think, for both sides, the arts and the veterans.
Thank you, Derek. So what I am going to say is, if you didn't get your questions answered, please speak to one of the panelists or the other artists in the exhibition. And would you join me in giving them a big, huge hand and round of applause?